Hello everyone, my name is Aarti and you're watching HW News. Winston Churchill had once said that those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. But this applies only if you take interest in learning history. What happens when you don't? Well, this happens when you don't learn history. Bollywood actor Akshay Kumar, a Canadian citizen, yesterday was giving an interview ahead of his release of his film. His film Prithviraj is based on the life and times of King Prithviraj Chauhan. In his interview to ANI's Smita Prakash, he said, Indian rulers are seldom mentioned in history text, but invaders dominate. He was quoted as saying by ANI, Unfortunately, our history textbooks only have 2 to 3 lines about Samrat Prithviraj Chauhan, but a lot has been mentioned about the invaders. There is hardly anything about our culture and our Maharajas in history books, the actor added, while appealing to the education minister to look into the matter. He said, Nobody is there to write about it in our history books. I would like to appeal to the education minister to look into this matter and see if we can balance it. We should know about Mughals, but know about our kings too. They were great too. This is what Akshay Kumar said. He also thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi when asked about if Indian film industry has arrived at a global scene. Now, it is not surprising that this statement came from someone who asked Prime Minister Modi whether he eats mangoes or not. But Akshay Kumar's response that our history books are dominated by chapters and information about Mughals and nobody is there to write about it in our history books is a classic example of what happens when you sleep through your history class. And it is not just Mr. Akshay Kumar. There are many others who often say, oh my God, why didn't they teach us this in the school? For all such people, issued in public interest, I would like to give you a tour of the high school history syllabus and see if our books were really dominated with the history of Mughals, the invaders. But before that, we are not the ones who ask people in position of power whether they eat mangoes or not. We ask them uncomfortable questions like what they do for the mango people, the Aam Aadmi. And sadly enough, doing so has become one of the toughest jobs in the country today. But we do it anyways and don't shy away from our responsibilities. But in doing so, we need your support, monetary support. So if you like the journalism that we do, please go to our website www.hwnews.in/support. We have listed subscription options for our readers and our viewers. Whatever that fits your budget, you can take up the plan and pay us. Because when you pay, you help independent media like us not only survive but also thrive. Now coming back to the topic. Indian school system is divided in different boards. There are state boards, then there is CBSE, the central board, and international board, the ICSE, and there are few more. But since CBSE is the most preferred one, let us look at CBSE syllabus. Let us look at the NCERT books that are prescribed to the CBSE students. Let us start from class 6. There are a total of 11 topics for class 6 in history subject. The chapters start with pre-Harappan era and then go on to cover Mehergarh, Harappa, the Janpadas, Buddha, Mahavira, Upanishads, Ashoka, and even the Jatakas. Let's move on to class 7. There are 10 chapters in history in class 7. 8 out of these 10 are about Cholas, Cheras, temples, trades, Hampi, Surat, the tribals, and even the Ahoms. There is also Nanak and Bhakti cult. There is only one chapter on the Delhi Sultanate and one on the Mughals. Although the last chapter, that is the political formation of 18th century, does have few paragraphs dedicated to Mughals, but here is the thing. The chapter also talks about the Jat kings and the Sikh kings. So far, there is no Mughal history dominating as such here. Now let's move on to class 8. Again, there are 10 chapters. There are topics that revolve around how East India Company gained hold in the country, the trade thereafter, 1857 rebellion, factory owners, weavers and the traders, women, caste reform, the independence movement and India after independence, all in class 8. No chapter dedicated to dominating invaders. Let's move on to class 9. There are 5 chapters here. There is hardly about Indian history. It talks about French Revolution, important events from world history like socialism in Russia and Nazi rule in Hitler's Germany, etc. Let's come to class 10th. There are again 5 chapters, almost all on nationalism, both in India as well as in Europe, and making of global world, the globalization. Only 2 paragraphs in the last chapter have reference to the Muslim world. Now let's go on to class 11. This is a recap of the entire history so far. There are 11 chapters here and 1 each are dedicated to empires, not only Mughals but also to Greek, Roman and Chinese empire. Now, class 12th. Total 15 chapters here in 3 volumes. Again, a recap of the history, Harappa civilization, caste and class, farmers and towns and thinkers and beliefs. Part 2 talks about perception of society, religious beliefs and devotion, Vijayanagara Empire, concept of state, kings and courts, and here is where Mughal kings feature in the textbook. The third part talks about colonialism, British Raj, rebellion, independence movement, Mahatma Gandhi, partition, and the framing of the constitution. So overall, hardly 1 or 2 chapters are there on Mughals and some paragraphs in other chapters. I studied in the state board school in Maharashtra. What was my history book like? It taught me about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, the Maratha Empire. It taught me about world history in brief, empires in the country including Cholas, Mauryas, Guptas, etc., the independence struggle and post-independence period. I cannot recall if there was a dedicated or dominating presence of Mughal history in our school books. Now, as far as the history of King Prithviraj Chauhan is concerned, I am sure like Maharashtra State Board taught about Maratha history, the Rajasthan textbook would have taught about Prithviraj Chauhan too. And those who want to study more, there are books available online and offline which you can read and know about them. So this "nobody told us" is just a lame excuse for you not going to a library or taking up efforts to search for a book online. So I think before Akshay Kumar claimed that Mughal history dominated textbooks, that invader history dominated textbooks, if he would have just bought these NCERT books and read them, it would have been prudent. Don't you think? Meanwhile, the film has got much needed promotion. Like Kashmir Files, several ruling party politicians have watched the film. It is also about to be made tax-free in some states. I really do feel that someone also needs to make a film on economics. At least that way, our ruling party politicians may talk about the tanking GDP. Do let us know what you think about this in the comment box below. For more news and updates, you can log on to www.hwnews.in. Please write your comments in the comment box, like our page, our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and help us grow our reach in YouTube and Facebook as well. And if you like the videos that I bring to you, you can feel free to subscribe to my Twitter handle. Go and follow me on my Twitter, that is at ARTI_GHARGI, that is @RT_Gargi. Thank you so much.